exploring all garment decorating methods to find the best fit for your business. And excited to have everybody here with us today. And got Andrea Bomarito, who's the embroidery specialist at Notacina Corporation. Is that pronounced correctly, Andrea?
Actually, very close, but it's called not Cena.
Not Cena, I'm sorry.
It's
There we
okay.
go. And I also have Terry Combs, who's sales and training at Equipment Zone. Terry, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. The reason I was out for half an hour couldn't get started because I was out exploring all the garment decorating methods that are best fit for your business. So,
Perfect. Well, good. I'm glad
or
somebody was doing it. I was just having technical difficulties like I always do. So, um, again, my name is Aaron Montgomery. I'm the Director of
all right,
Sales and Marketing at Coastal Business Supplies, and uh, also a co-host of this podcast with Terry, and Andrea is a special guest all the time, and appreciate all that. But we're actually excited to kind of present to you guys a something that we're going to be doing for the Impressions ISS folks next year in a seminar, and so we thought we'd give it a go here and kind of make you guys our guinea pigs in a little way, and also share all this information early and upfront with everybody. So you guys ready to jump right into this?
hey, I'm ready. How about you, Andrea?
Let's do this.
All right. Well, Andrew, you get to be first, ladies first, since Terry and I are complete gentlemen, as we all know. And here we go.
All right. So with embroidery, just exploring it. Typically, when I start talking to people about embroidery, we talk about the actual process of embroidery. From A to Z, from the image to the finished embroidery design. So, hey, Aaron, if I hit the space bar, will it go to my next things, or how does
No,
this work? I apologize, I
no,
don't know.
that's okay. You're just gonna have to tell me to just say next or something.
All right. All
Ping
right,
me.
well, why don't you go ahead and go to the first thing. First of all, what we have to think about in the process is what do we want to embroider? Not only are garments embroidered, but materials, fabrics, even materials like wood and things like that. There's a lot of different things that you can embroider, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, kind of the first step of the process is what do you want to embroider? And after you choose that, you can go ahead and hit the next button. What after that you want to know, okay, well, what kind of image or design do I want to embroider? That's kind of the next step. And in that next step, you've got different things from custom designs to the stock designs, and in that you have to decide. With custom designs, those are more along the lines of somebody's logo, a personalization, things like that. Stock designs are designs that are already ready for the machine. They're ready to go, and you can just pick from a menu. So you have to decide that as well. Once you decide that, if you do a custom design, you have to actually get that digitized or get it digitized by somebody else, or you do it yourself. You can't just take an image and put it into the embroidery machine, because that design or that image has to be converted from an image to stitches. And once you have that design, then we get to the machinery setup. The machinery setup, there's a lot of different things that are involved in that, because depending upon the material or garment that you have to embroider, we have to look at the ingredients for embroidery. So go ahead and hit that next button a couple times. And with the ingredients for the embroidery, you can hit the other one too, please. Thank you. You have to think of the thread that you need to use, which are the colors, backing. Actually, let me take a step back. I apologize. The garment that you're going to embroider with the design will define some of the things that you have to use for the machine setup, such as the hoop. The hoop is the frame of what the garment sits inside, so that when you load it into the machine will actually hold that frame and move it while the needle goes up and down to create that whole embroidery design. So there's some rules to embroidery. You have to choose the right hoop for the material that you're going to embroider. So once you choose the right hoop and you hoop it up, you do have to choose the other ingredients, such as the backing that you're going to use. That is another material that you use with the embroidery, with hooping. And if you've ever noticed, you know, with an embroidered shirt, if you turn it inside out, you might have like a little piece of white material or black material that's behind there. That's something that we use in embroidery to help make that embroidery look good. So you have to choose the appropriate backing. You choose the thread, you know, like I was saying, the colors, bobbins, needles, other things that go into it. Once you have those ingredients together, you then can load the design into the machine and set it up within the machine, you know, telling the machine what colors to do when, and giving the machine all the commands that are needed for that design. So once you get it hooped and it's ready to go into the machine, go ahead and hit next. You have to line up the garment or line up the material so that it fits inside the hoop, so that you don't actually, you know, hit the hoop or mess up the machine. So you have to line it up so nothing bad happens, and then after that you start stitching. With that embroidery process, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the embroidery process, but of course it's a little bit more involved, and that's what we like to talk about when you are getting into the business. So we can go to the next slide. So what can be embroidered? There's so many different things that you can embroider. You know, first of all, wearables with traditional embroidery. With those wearables, you have different types of materials and different types of garments. So you can go to the next couple things. So shirts, jackets, pants, socks, shoes, gloves, you know, all kinds of different things. And Aaron, are we switching now? Because I see you.
Of course, as usual. All right.
I mean, we can switch to video.
There we go. Should be back.
Okay. So, you know, with embroidery, you've got your wearables, traditional embroidery, the shirts, jackets, pants, socks, shoes, gloves, anything that you can think of. You're not so limited on the fabric type. Like you're not limited on. You know what? I apologize. I'm seeing Terry's cute picture instead of the presentation. Sorry.
Really? Okay.
Sure there. Thank you. Thank you for commenting.
And actually, we're back to Terry.
Oh, here we go.
Very cool.
All right.
All right.
My daughter with her Mickey Mouse ears. We're going to Disneyland on Saturday. Just saying.
Aww.
All right, we should be back now.
All right. So you're not limited on the fabric type or the makeup of the fabric, such as you're not limited to, you know, certain weight materials or certain types of materials like cotton or poly or whatever. And the makeup, you know, I'm talking about like the thickness of materials. You're not so limited in that either, because there are different things that you can do to the machine to actually, you know, adapt to those different things. you're more limited. Your limitations are more on the machine capability and the attachments, and of course, from machine to machine in different, within the same manufacturer and between different manufacturers, there are limits as far as the capability and what attachments can be put onto the machine. So like I said, your limitation is more on the machine capability rather than the actual fabric or thickness. The next thing, which go ahead and you can put all those up, are the non-traditional things. Don't mind to go back a screen.
Yep. Sorry.
We see people doing all kinds of just new markets or markets that we don't think of, or markets that it's there, but we don't notice it. Kind of non-wearables such as car mats. I have people doing screen doors, doing monograms on their screen porches, cardstock, things like that. We even can use embroidery technology for technical work, laying down conductive wiring, synthetic polymers, carbon fiber for industrial parts, such as in the automotive industry, in the airline industry. It's really amazing what you can do with embroidery. It's things that are non-traditional, outside of the box type of things. And I am going to take a side note, or take a side step off of this. I was lucky enough to go over to Germany and go to their in-house exhibition, and I'll tell you, I met some wonderful people, some very, very talented people, and also some really smart people. There is a university in Germany that is using one of these technical embroidery machines, and they are laying down these polymers in certain patterns, and what they do is they grow cells on it. They can actually grow, promote cell growth, and when you promote the cell growth, you can actually make organs, and those can be put in your body.
Wow.
You can do this with embroidery. I mean, it blew my mind. But there's a lot of research and development that continues to go on, and this just blew me away. I just couldn't believe it. So, super
Andrea,
smart people.
will you be demonstrating the creation of body parts at the? So no.
Yeah. You'll have to go over to Germany for that one. So, yeah, but it was amazing. Just they were making surfboards out of carbon fiber. BMW is using these machines to lay down. They just ordered a whole bunch of these machines to lay down wiring for for their seats, heated seats, heated clothing, all kinds of different things. So anyway, that was kind of a side note, but it is non-traditional things that you can do with embroidery. So always think with embroidery, it's not just garments, and it's not just certain garments. You can do all kinds of different things. So we can move on to the next one, and when we think about garments and other things, there are non-traditional types of embroidery. For example, I showed this shoe clamp. It's a specialty attachment that we have for our equipment, and offering shoe embroidery can definitely give you a great new market to to go forward with. Many stores, offer this shoe embroidery to differentiate themselves from the traditional markets. And there's a couple brand name like Nike and Adidas that have these machines in their stores, and they're embroidering on them and charging very high dollar for the embroidery. because it is something different. But you know, when you're looking at machinery, you do have to look at, well, is the machine capable of this? Because if the machine's not capable of it and it has that limitation, you know, then you can't embroider that. So we can go to the next slide and show you kind of what I was talking about with the non-traditional types of things. You know, this is showing a picture of laying down the carbon fiber. You know, manufacturers are getting into this, and really, when you think about it, they have to do the process of embroidery the same way you would do it for a garment. You have to prepare the design, you have to prepare the material, you have to prepare the thread, the bobbin, all that good stuff. So, you know, it is all kind of the same process, but for different markets. And like I said before, universities are using this technology for very unique medical and textile research. It's really awesome. So we'll go on to the next slide. So what can't be embroidered? What can I not embroider? And really, when it comes down to anything that you really can't put a needle through, or not supposed to put a needle through, and you go ahead and hit the next button. In here, you know, metal, you know, you can't embroider through metal. People are always asking, well, can I embroider through this or can I embroider through that? And if we're not sure, we'll definitely test it out. With embroidery, you know, you wouldn't think that you can embroider on a shoe, but with the specialty things in machinery, you can. Obviously, we don't want to embroider a balloon or different things like that, but you can embroider everything from an umbrella to you know, to making an organ. So what can't be embroidered, it's really hard to say things that cannot be embroidered, and that's again to the capability of the machine. So let's go on to the next one. And the embroidery advantages and disadvantages. With the advantages of embroidery, what we typically see in the advantages, you can go ahead and put that whole list. Premium quality. We always associate the premium, you know, decoration method. Sorry, Terry and Aaron, but you know, people do tend to associate embroidery with longevity, durability, and superiority. You can use multiple colors. You can use multiple decoration options. And what I mean by that is that you have the ability to put different types of thread in there and not just your regular threads. You have cool metallic threads. You've got, you know, threads that look like hand stitching, you know, like cotton threads. You can put different specialty attachments and aftermarket accessories on there, you know, for sequins, which is kind of like bling, cording, which we see a lot on women's apparel and things like that. Personalization is a big thing associated with embroidery, because with personalization and monogramming, it's kind of a high margin item. The setup time from design to complete embroidery, what's good with that is that, you know, you don't have to go in and prepare artwork the same way you would, and I'm just going to compare this to screen printing in that, you know, preparing your screens, you have a shorter time for setup, per se, than you would on other types of decoration. You know, and that's on a typical embroidery. You know, your setup time is going to vary depending upon your design complexity and things like that, but the overall process is typically shorter from image to embroidery than other types of decoration. So next we'll go to the disadvantages of embroidery, and the disadvantages of embroidery is that you can go ahead and put those up there. Anything that's detailed or larger embroideries take a long time. The image on the right-hand side, that's actually embroidery. This gentleman that we met in Germany, this is about a 50 by 60 canvas, all embroidery, and it's millions of stitches. So these larger embroideries, I'm not going to say that you're going to do this, but larger embroideries for like jacket back and things like that do take a long time. Also, your machinery limitations. The machinery limitations, depending upon what machine you get, will put you at a disadvantage for certain products. You know, like if you wanted decoration on aluminum or, you know, anything like that on a wine bottle or something like that, you can't do embroidery directly on it. You could somehow apply it, but you can't do it directly on it. As far as the decoration process time, it's longer. Screen printing is much shorter once you have it all set up, but the decoration process time is longer, you know, because you do have to produce stitching. The productivity cost, you know, is higher because your production time, your stitching time actually takes a little bit longer. So you have higher labor requirements because and higher, you know, you have to hire a little bit more skilled laborers because it is more computerized. You do need some computer skills and some mechanical skills as well. Although, you know, I could take somebody off the street and teach them how to press the buttons on the machine. It is something that, you know, they have to be willing to learn. And again, typically it's just a higher labor cost on that. So the next frame, our embroidery checklist. You know, what do you need to get started? And the things that you need to get started, obviously the first one is the machinery. There's a lot of different machines out on the market that can accommodate different businesses. But you have to, when looking at machines, you have to think about the markets that you'd like to service. Certain machines are going to be for, you know, be a perfect fit for one person, but maybe not for another. You know, so looking at the machine capabilities are going to be a big thing. The next thing is the machinery hoops and attachments. So with the machine, you need to make sure you have a hoop or an attachment that you're going to use because that's going to hold your garment. The other thing, most often we encourage people to have a hooping aid, and this helps you get the right or the correct registration every time for your embroidery. The next thing you need is software, whether it's creating your design, adding a name to the design. You need software for your embroidery designs, and or the accessibility to accessibility to have someone digitize your design, or you need stock design. So you need that accessibility to have your custom designs done, or, you know, get designs that you can pick from a menu. The next thing is that your consumable items, those are going to be things like thread, backing, bobbins, scissors, tweezers, all those different things that kind of go into the embroidery that you'll have to refresh over and over again. And then the last thing is obviously your training. With your training, you do need to make sure that you're going to get the right education, the right training on the machine, the right support, because it is a more involved process. So making sure that you're buying from someone who's going to be able to teach you embroidery overall, not just using the machine, not just using software, everything. So your skill requirements, you know, what kind of skills do you need? You know, like I said, you can pull somebody off the street and you can teach them how to do embroidery, but you know, you need to have somebody who's willing to learn and follow directions. You must understand the process from A to Z, how everything works together. You need to understand the machine capability, what it's capable of stitching. You need to have basic technical ability. You can go ahead and go to the next couple. Basic skills, and I apologize, I forgot to put PC skills. So basic, actually, computer skills or PC skills. Of course, you need
You meant
marketing and
political
sales.
correctness, but okay.
I'm sorry?
I thought you meant political correctness, but go ahead.
You need bow hunting
Because I thought I'm
skills.
totally out now.
Yeah. No, I should have put BH for the bow hunting skills, um, and ninja skills. But you need basic computer skills. You need the marketing and support side. I'm sorry, the marketing and sales side to support the running of the business. And you need to make sure that you have a support line, meaning who you buy it from, that you've got somebody to support you, whether or not you're buying that machine used or new or certified used. You need some sort of support line to fall back on when starting up. And over time, you're going to learn. So with the monetary requirements, what kind of things do you need? How much do you need to spend? First of all, you need to decide what your machinery needs are. In the single head category alone, there's several types, from a compact style to an expanded full-size style. You have to kind of look at each machine and compare it properly. So what kind of markets do you want to, what kind of markets do you want to service? Then, do you want, what we call the whole package? You need to consider the whole process of embroidery because it includes so many different things. The other thing that you need to consider is the machine quality, where it's built, the build style, the machine adaptability, meaning capability and things like that. So when you're buying equipment, you're buying the company. And typical pricing can vary between $12,000 and $20,000 for a single head, meaning one garment at a time, and that's what we typically do for startup businesses. So again, the pricing can vary, but you do have to consider all these different things when, making your decision. So, questions to ask. I always talk about how when we talk to people, we like to ask you questions because you need to understand your needs and you need to understand your business requirements. And when understanding that, you need to what machine is going to fit your needs the best. So look at those machine capabilities, understand the different models, and what each model can do. So understand those so you can compare apples to apples. Some people will look and I say, oh, I can buy that machine over there for $12,000, but why is yours $20,000? And it's because, well, they're totally different styles. Even though they're both single heads, they're just totally different styles. What kind of things do you need for your business to start? Do you have a business in a box type of thing? Do you need just the machine? Or do you need a whole machine package? What components do you need to start your business? The other things to think about are what attachments, frames, or tools are available that will allow your business to grow. You do not, you don't want to keep changing out your equipment because of it lacks certain capability. You want to see if your machine can grow with your business. Look ahead and look at the different markets of embroidery. One thing I always see, I'm on the support side of embroidery, everybody sells on speed and needles. It shouldn't sell you when looking at a machine. Look for efficiency, machine capabilities, different apps that might be available for the machine, the versatility of the machine, the longevity, the build style. All this you need to kind of consider. Then, of course, the last thing, what kind of training and support is offered and for how long. Some companies will do only a certain amount. Some companies will do forever. You just have to just make sure you dot all your I's and cross your T's when doing your homework. I hope I didn't go too long. I know I could say like a whole bunch more, but I guess I'll let Terry go. So
Awesome. Well, thanks, Andrea. That was good stuff. Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be much easier when you get to control the PowerPoint too. So, um,
you did awesome. Thank you.
all right, Terry, you're off to the races here, sir.
Well, here I've decided I'm not going to do the screen printing portion because Andrea has convinced me she is correct. Embroidery is better, so I choose to fold.
All right, I'll just skip ahead.
Well, but short of that, I am highly disappointed that ZSK is not going to be demonstrating creating human organs at the Fort Worth show because that would really attract a crowd. All right, let's talk a little bit about the screen printing and an overview of the screen printing process. And by the way, Andrea, I loved your slides, but did you have a slide with a picture of yourself in it like I do?
No, I was hoping.
I believe you don't. Well, let's talk a little bit about the process of screen printing because I can't hear Andrea talking any longer. So here in a nutshell is what we do with screen printing. We're going to start with artwork. And as we all know, Aaron and Andrea, that the artwork we get from our customers is always top quality, top-notch artwork. Not. And so we're going to spend a lot of time trying to get our artwork cleaned up. There's a few options. One, you're going to get artwork from your customer. Two, you're going to create the artwork yourself. Or three, chances are you're going to create the artwork with your customer. Maybe the customer is going to come in with the Kiwanis logo, and they want you to add in lettering, and they want it to look really cool, and it's going to say Overland Park Kiwanis Club Summer Picnic 2014, something like that. So you're going to create the artwork. In screen printing, the artwork also has to be separated. So if it's a 3-color logo, that means that I have to create 3 screens. What I'm going to do next in the process is I'm going to output film positives. There are a lot of different ways you can output films, but primarily today most people use an inkjet printer like an Epson 1430 to output their film positives. You need a RIP software. RIP software is going to tell that inkjet printer to lay down more ink, and it's going to tell it how to create a halftone dot. And if you look at the shirts that you have in your own closet, you'll see a lot of dots printed, and those are called halftones. You have to have a RIP software with your inkjet printer to create those halftone dots. So I've got my artwork. I'm going to output that artwork from my art program onto films, and films are it's clear acetate sheets with the image in black. If it's a 5-color design, I'm going to have 5 films, and each color is going to be black on that film positive. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to coat screens with a photosensitive emulsion. Once those are dry, I'm going to lay that film on the screen or on my glass, my exposure unit. I'm going to expose that screen to UV light, ultraviolet light, and I can do that anywhere from a $10,000 exposure unit all the way back down to exposing it in the sun, because we like to call that God's exposure unit. There's no better UV light source than the sun. So a variety of ways that you can do this, from free all the way up to high-end equipment, and the equipment you use really is based on the budget that you have. Once I expose those screens, I'm going to wash them out in a sink, and every place that the light touched that emulsion, it hardened on the screen. Every place the light didn't touch, which is where our film positive, where the black art is on the screen, that's going to wash away. And so that's how we burn our screens and get our artwork on the screens. The next step in the process is we're going to take those screens and we're going to line them up on our press. Anywhere from a homemade press all the way to an automatic press, and a variety of presses in between. The beauty of screen printing, though, is that in my garage, I can print the exact same quality work as a $500 million screen printing operation, because screen printing is screen printing is screen. This is exactly the same. What separates us is our expertise in doing this process. So I'm going to set my screens up. I'm going to line my screens up with my shirt platen. As long as my screens are square with my shirt platen and I load my shirt squarely, then I'm going to get a print just the way it's supposed to be. So I'm going to load my screen on. I'm going to load that screen with Plastisol ink. Now, there are a variety of different inks on the market, but Plastisol is primarily the ink that we choose to use in screen printing. It's very forgiving. I can print shirts. I can walk away. I can print shirts up till 5 o'clock on Friday, like any of us leave work at 5 o'clock on Friday, and then I can walk away. I can come back on Monday and start printing again without skipping a beat. The ink will not dry in the screen. So I'm going to pull the squeegee or push the squeegee, and I'm going to press that ink onto the shirt. If it's a multicolor job, I'm just going to keep printing the different colors on top of one another. Of course, these screens all have to be lined up against one another to be perfectly in line. But once they are in line, as long as you have a good quality screen printing press, manual or automatic, they'll stay in that position. Once that shirt's printed, now I have to cure it. And by curing it, what I'm talking about is I need to get that ink film up to about 320 degrees. So there are a variety, again, of ways to do that, but chances are, in an ideal production scenario, and by production scenario, I'm talking about not being a hobby printer, but I'm talking about somebody who makes a living doing this. You're going to need a conveyor dryer. A conveyor dryer, I'm going to take my shirt, lay it on the belt. It's going to go into the oven, and when it comes out the other end, it will be perfectly cured, ready to wash, ready to wear, ready to fold up and put into a box. So, in a nutshell, that is the process of screen printing. Now, of course, there's much more to it than that, and every day we all learn a little bit more. But from the day I started screen printing back in 1979, the process has not changed. Aaron, let's go ahead and advance the slide to talk about what we can print. Another great thing about garment screen printing is that you can print just about anything. 100% cotton, of course, is our best friend. We can print 50-50. A lot of 50-50 shirts are printed for schools and daycares and things like that because all those moms out there know that those 50-50 shirts don't wrinkle. So I can print on polyester. I can print on nylon shorts, and I get a lot of questions about printing on nylon because people will say, "Oh, I have to have a special additive to print on a jacket, and it's nylon." But the reason you have to have that additive is because there's a water repellent chemical on those jackets. So when the cheer coach comes in and says, "I need 100 pairs of nylon shorts that say cheer across the butt," or the dance instructor comes in and says, "I need 150 shorts that say dance across the butt," and trust me, you don't have to be a screen printer very long before you get one or both those orders. You can print all kinds of things too, canvas bags. I printed glassware. I printed on plastics, all different kinds of things. Now, I have to have a different ink set, but you can print a variety of products with the screen printing process. The process is the same. Bumper stickers, all types of things that you can print on. Here, let's jump to the next slide. And what can I not print? The bottom line with garment printing is that your limitations on what you can print, it's not so much based on what it is you're printing, but the prep time and the setup time. Somebody could come in to me and say, Terry, can you print this 6-color, full-color photographic image onto a black T-shirt for me? Yes, I can. Can you do one? Yes, I can. But will I? No, I won't, because the time involved in setting that up from preparing makes it so that I couldn't charge you enough money to do that. So what you're going to find with screen printers is they're going to want longer runs. The more colors there are in design, the longer the run. Even a one-color print, most printers are going to ask for at least 12 pieces because the time involved is not in the printing. The printing's the easy part. The cost involved is really in the prep time and the setup. So that's what's really going to limit us on what we can and can't print. And of course, there's expertise. There's a learning curve to screen printing, and it's really, honestly, to do 1- and 2-color work. Hey, and that's the bread and butter for screen printing. That kind of thing, you'll be able to do very quickly. But once you get into higher end printing, you're talking about 2 or 3 years really to get the expertise to do that kind of work. So be aware of the learning curve. And to be honest, screen printing is a great business to get into if you do it right and if you learn how to do all the things properly. Because for good or for bad, there are lots and lots and lots of screen printers out there, but there aren't very many good screen printers. So if you get into this business and decide that, hey, I want to be good at this, the the market is just vast, and business will come to your door because, as I said, not a lot of really good screen printers. So, Aaron, if we'll advance to the next slide, talk about some of the advantages of screen printing. The beauty of it is, hey, anybody with a two-car garage has the potential of being a screen printer, and I always say that jokingly, but it's true. It's you can set up a screen printing business in your home. My daughter had a screen printing business all the way through college in her second bedroom of her apartment at Arizona State, and printed for student organizations all the way through college. So it doesn't take a whole lot of space to be a screen printer. There's a wide variety of substrates you can print on. T-shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants, socks, all kinds of things that can be printed on. And another advanced systems. As I said, plastisol ink. I can print today and walk away and start printing a week from now. When I was teaching classes at US Screen, where Aaron and you and I worked together, I taught those classes for 6 years, and I set up one press there for the very first print. We'd always do in every class. We did a one-color print so everybody could get their fingers in the ink. I set that press up, and 6 years later, all I ever did was put more ink into it. We never took it down. We never cleaned it. All we did was add more ink every month. And once a month, we just start printing again. So it's very forgiving. Aaron, if we'll go to the next slide. Talk about a little bit about the disadvantages of screen printing. The biggest disadvantage really is just that short runs are not very economical. So the longer the run, the better. So the systems and of course we're going to be talking about some of the other ways that you can decorate garments, but short runs are a detriment to what we want to do, and really the only disadvantage that I know of. Let's go to the next slide and talk a little bit about what do I need. And what do I need to get started basically is I need a 6-color press. If you haven't bought a press yet, buy a 6-color press, because are you going to do a lot of 6-color jobs? No. But you have the potential of doing just about any type of job with a 6-color manual press. You need a conveyor dryer, a dryer where I lay the shirt on the belt, it's going to go down the belt, and when it comes out the other end, it's done. A flash cure unit, and a flash cure unit sole purpose is when I print a white underbase. If I'm printing a black shirt or a red shirt or a navy shirt, I want to print white first. I'm going to put it under the flash cure unit for about 15 seconds. I'm going to come back and I'm going to print my colors on top. Without that flash cure unit, it makes it very difficult to do dark garments. An exposure unit, I need an exposure unit to expose my screens, and of course I'm going to need screens, inks, supplies. On my website, terrycombs.com, I have a checklist of all the items you need to get started in screen printing. So I would recommend going there and taking a look at that list. There are no brands listed. It's just a basic list of everything that I need to get going. And Aaron, if we will go to that last slide here, talk a little bit about what it costs to get. And of course, my quick response is, well, how much do you have? Because there's a lot of things you can do, and I could start a business on a shoestring. I could probably start a screen printing business for $500 in my garage. Is it efficient? Is it the right way to do it? It's not. Could I? Yes, I could. In reality, for a real production shop, which means that I can produce enough goods that I can start making a profit and start building my business, it's only going to be about $15,000 to get started. And that's a fairly inexpensive way to start a business. So let's jump on to the next subject, and I'll be back to talk a little bit more about direct-to-garment printing.
Great. Awesome stuff, Terry. Thanks a lot. And Andrea, you just keep being patient for us, would you?
I will.
All right.
Listening to this stuff. I do.
All right. Let's talk about sublimation here. And basically, what is sublimation? Sublimation is a digital printing process that's similar in concept to the digital transfer application, but uniquely different in the chemical process. Technically, we're adding colors to the surface of the substrate, the item being printed, and sublimation, on the other hand, is a dyeing process, meaning that it actually penetrates and recolors the substrate below the surface. I'm just reading all this, so you guys read along. The chemical process is such that the sublimation dye turns into a gas when heated to 400 degrees, and pressure is applied, and it permeates and attaches any polymer base. The result is high resolution, blah, 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 blah. Okay, So, what is sublimation? Sublimation is the process of turning an ink to a gas, making it become a permanent part of the substrate we're going onto, and that substrate has to be a polyester or polymer of some sort. And below you'll see some pictures of lots of different things that have been sublimated, everything from dog bowls to flip-flops to in China they call those flasks wine pots. You've got your cell phone cases, which are a huge market right now, and awards and things like that. So that's a basic overview of sublimation. We're basically taking a special ink, printing it onto a paper, turning it into a gas, and permanently attaching it to a substrate. All right, so let's keep moving on here. Wow. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong button. I'm awesome here.
Okay, it's my turn again. Okay.
All right. Go, Terry. Oh. All right, so what can I print? As stated before, we do need a polyester. It does work best with 100% polyester if you're going on to garments, which you'll see down there. Definitely see a lot of polyester garments. Basically, if you're a sublimator, you want to remove the word T-shirt from your vocabulary because you want to use words like poly performance wear or athletic gear or Under Armour or other high value type words. So it does work best with 100% polyester, and it can be put onto some blends, but if what's going to happen with those blends is it's only going to adhere to the polyester part of that blend. Therefore, it's going to look a little bit washed out and faded, and I guess you can then sell that as a distressed look for even more, but that's typically I would not recommend going anything below about a 60% polyester. 50/50s I've heard of people using them, but you really get a washed out look. So, and then outside of the soft goods or apparel and whatnot, the items do need to have a polymer coating. And again, you see a wide range of items available. Coffee mugs are a very popular product that is typically sublimated. The fabric mouse pad that you have sitting next to your computer, if you still have one of those, are typically sublimated, and in fact, actually, you will find that sublimation, because it is such a durable process, is put onto a lot of things that you wouldn't really normally recognize. So. The trick to this is I cannot run down to my local Target or Walmart or whatever and pick up a mug or a plate or whatever and then go ahead and sublimate onto that. They do have to be ready for sublimation, and the sublimation coatings do have different grades to them. So if you bought a cheap sublimation mug, likelihood of it actually making it through the dishwasher without any harm to the ink are probably pretty low. So there are different grades, so you do have to be aware of those things. And then also another question that I get a lot is there a spray out there that I can spray onto something and add my own polymer coating? And the answer is yes, but don't use it. And the reason for that, and I've yet to see anybody that can really show me something where they've been able to produce products on a high level with consistent results, is the fact that spray, when I'm spraying it on there, I don't get an even coating. All of these products that are made are either done through a special waterfall or dipping process or something along those lines that make that coating nice and even, and the sprays just don't allow you to do that, so you're going to get color shifts from one side to the other, areas that don't sublimate all the way, and just it's a real hassle and headache. So every time everybody's ever said, "Oh, I've got a spray that'll work," it's like, okay, well, show me how you actually use it. So that's why sprays don't work. All right, what are the things that I cannot sublimate onto? As mentioned before, we do have to have polyester, so I cannot do those 100% cotton shirts. There are some systems out there that people will tout as a sublimation system. In fact, we are actually at Coastal a distributor of a system like that. We do not tout it as a sublimation system. It is just it's called chromoblast, and what it basically is just a special pigment ink for doing regular inkjet transfers. So don't be fooled, and don't let anybody tell you that that's a sublimation system. It is not. It is just a inkjet transfer system. The other thing that we are not able to sublimate onto would be dark garments, because there is no white ink in the process. So anytime you see a garment that does look like it's a dark garment or a full colored garment, that garment has typically been started out as a white piece of fabric and then completely sublimated on using large heat presses and things like that. And then either it was already done as one piece or sewn together into multiple pieces. The alternative to some of these things is that there is a patch material out there that's a sublimatable patch that you can sublimate onto and then adhere as kind of like a decal onto a dark shirt or a cotton shirt. But again, it's a patch and you can feel it and all that kind of fun stuff. So those are the main things I can't print on are dark garments and 100% cotton garments. All right. And again, like I said, surfaces always start white and then go from there. All right, so here are the sublimation advantages. You've got things that, like quick setup is one of those advantages. You know, as Terry mentioned in the screen printing process, you have to do some color separating. With this, I've got it on my computer. I can push print and go, so no color separations needed. I do have unlimited color capabilities, which basically means, you know, if I'm looking at something that's like a 1 or 2 color looking piece, that same piece is going to be the exact same as if it was a full color as far as my costs are concerned. So you got to look at pricing and selling sublimation completely different than some of the other decorating methods we're talking about here, because your ink costs don't change, whether it's one color or from my research, it looks like we can create about 16 million different colors with the CMYK process: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. All right, the other advantage to it is it does have low production costs because you don't have the setup and some of the other things like that, and so your cost of creating the goods are fairly low compared to the value that you can get out of them. There's no special skills required. You really truly can sit down and push print and for the most part get a sublimatable item. I always like to kind of go back to the fact that if I can sublimate, anyone can. So that's definitely true here. It is ideal for short run production, and you know, those one-off jobs where somebody walks in and wants something on a garment, and if they're willing to take a polyester garment, then you can send them right out the door. You want to make one mug or one mouse pad or one cell phone case, totally ideal for that kind of thing. There are a huge range of items that you can create from. We've already covered a ton of them. Just to give you a quick example, at Coastal Business where I work, we have about 3,500 different products in our warehouse that you can sublimate onto, and I wouldn't even begin to say that we have the widest variety available. We try to have as much as we can, but there are other people that have even more than us, so total massive amount of things that you can sublimate onto. It's ideal for photographic reproductions. You see a lot of photographers, as the photography market changes, getting into this because they can put those photos that they're taking onto a wide range of products and metal panels that are very durable and things like that, so very ideal for that. So those are the advantages. Disadvantages, product limits that we already talked about a little bit, that, you know, no cottons, no darks, difficult to get onto things that aren't already coded for sublimation. Wow, awesome spelling here, but not ideal for low cost production. Have to obviously get that updated, but that means that you know, if somebody is out there and they want a $3, $4, $5 T-shirt, you're not going to be sublimating that. The cost of the garment is obviously going to be higher than that to begin with, and you know, you're magic in this process is the ink, so the ink cost can be a little higher than what you would expect out of some of the other decorating methods. So, you know, if you're trying to be the lowest price guy in town, sublimation is not going to be a business for you. As I said, ink costs can be high. Size versus budget limitation, meaning that if you are looking to do all over garments or darker color garments and things like that, you do need to get into what's considered wide format, which is defined as 42 inches and above. Just the heat press alone to be able to handle those kinds of things is going to cost $15,000 to $30,000 on that. So once you do kind of jump up into size, the costs jump up pretty high. Now, you can be a full-fledged profitable sublimator on a smaller scale with a 8.5 by 14 size printer for in the $500, $550, $600 range. We'll get into those costs in just a moment here. In fact, we're going to dive right into those costs. So here are the three basic things that you need. You need a computer with graphics software. You know, if you've already got a computer and you just want to invest in a cheap graphics software like an Adobe Elements, Photoshop Elements, you've got about $50 in investment there. Or if you need to get a computer and you want to invest in a full-fledged Adobe software, you know, so you're in that $50 to $2,000 range for that part of it. The next part of the system that you're going to need, and again, we're talking on the small format size, which is a majority of the sublimators out there. Get a printer and ink and paper setup package, basically, like I said, in that $500 range, on up to a larger unit that'll print up to 13 by 19 for about $1,600. So there's the other part of it. And then finally, the most important part, and the nice part about this is I don't have to have a special heat press for this process. I can use the heat press that I already have, or I can use this heat press to do other things within the decorating realm. But you know, as Terry and I have talked about on the Regular Guys show here, you get what you pay for here, and I think the minimum you should probably spend on a heat press is about $1,000, and you go up to about $2,000 on that small format 16 by 20 format size. So that's a little over $1,500 all the way up to a little over $5,500 would be your general startup cost there. And let's head on to Terry next again. Back to Terry, and tell us about direct to garment.
All right. Well, Aaron, with your presentation, you had me at little skill required. So, because I've got that. All right. Let's talk a little bit about direct to garment printing in an overview of how this process works. Basically, with direct to garment printing, anything you can send to your desktop printer, you can send to a direct to garment printer. So what you're going to do, and you're going to use a standard art program. You know, Aaron, you had mentioned Elements. Basically, any art program where you can manipulate the artwork is going to work for you. Most people use Photoshop. Probably the second most common program that's used would be CorelDRAW, mainly because people use CorelDRAW for other parts of this industry. Certainly in screen printing, it's the most popular program. But we don't really care what program you're using, as long as you're comfortable with it and you can manipulate the artwork in it. You're going to get the artwork on your computer screen. It's going to be a PC. Unless you purchase an Epson direct-to-garment printer. The Epson is the only one that is PC and Mac compatible. If you are a Mac user, though, simple enough to buy a cheap PC, create your artwork on your Mac, and then just transfer it over to the PC for printing. Basically, use it as an inexpensive server. So I'm going to create my artwork on my screen. I'm going to export that artwork to the RIP software. All direct-to-garment printers have a RIP software. The RIP does basically what it does is communicate with the printer. What you're going to see on your screen is a rectangle, and that rectangle represents the shirt platen that goes into the machine for printing. You're going to position your artwork on the screen that way, and once it's positioned the way you want it, once it's sized the way you want it, if it's going on a light color garment, you're going to hit the print button and it's going to print the shirt. On the flip side of that, if it's going on a dark garment, you have to print white ink first. So what you're going to do is in the art program, normally it's just a button click, and the art program will create that white underbase for you. Now, we were talking about in screen printing, creating separations and all that sort of thing. Not necessary with a direct-to-garment printer. Basically, just like when you print to your color printer, your desktop printer, same thing. You don't have to manipulate the artwork in any way. So on a dark garment, I'm going to ask the RIP software to create a white underbase. That tells the printer the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to print white. The second thing that's going to happen is I will print color on top of that. Now, one of the things we have to be aware of is that when we print on dark garments, anytime we print with white ink, and it doesn't matter what color the garment is, if I print white ink, I do have to spray pretreatment on the shirt first. I can do that on the low end with a Wagner handheld power sprayer that you can buy at Amazon for $78, all the way up to an automatic pretreat machine. The higher end printers, most people today are buying automatic pretreat machines because that means I can put a shirt in it, push the button, it's going to pretreat the shirt evenly. It will pretreat every shirt exactly the same. The handheld Wagner power sprayer, does it do the job? It does. It's a little messy. It takes a little more practice to get that even stroke across the shirt. But the process is I pre-treat the shirt, I'm going to dry it on my heat press, and then I'm going to print it with white ink and then print it with color. Once that shirt is finished, then I am going to take the shirt off and I'm going to cure it on the heat press. Now, we use water-based inks in direct-to-garment printers. All direct-to-garment printers use a similar water-based ink, and that water-based ink would in fact air dry. But for washability, just like with other decoration methods, you have to get that shirt up to temperature. So generally, as a general rule, and it's going to vary from manufacturer to manufacturer, but generally you need to get that shirt up to 330 degrees. A light color shirt is going to be cured for a minute to a minute and a half. A dark color shirt is going to be cured for 2 to 3 minutes. Once that's done, and once the shirt's cured properly, then it's going to wash like a screen print. And I certainly have shirts that have been direct-to-garment printed that have likely been washed 150 times. In particular, Aaron, I'm sure you've seen my Kansas Orange Bowl T-shirt that was printed in 2008, and I still wear it all the time. So it was the last heyday for for the Kansas football team. But
Yeah.
exactly. But basically, that's the process. So Aaron, let's jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about what I can print. 100% cotton is your best friend when it comes to direct-to-garment printing. Just the opposite of what Aaron was talking about with sublimation. Sublimation is 100% polyester. Direct-to-garment's 100% cotton. All direct-to-garment printers primarily print 100% cotton. And here's something you should know about direct-to-garment printing. When you're comparing machine to machine, what you can do on one direct-to-garment printer, you can do on all direct-to-garment printers. What you can't do on one direct-to-garment printer, you can't do on any direct-to-garment printer. So the similarities in the types of products we can print are basically the same. I can do blended fabrics. Ideally, though, the higher the cotton content, the better. Just the way Aaron was saying, at least 60% poly. I'm going to say, for instance, sweatshirts. It's hard to get a 100% cotton sweatshirt in any variety of color, but there are lots of them out there in 80-20 blend, so at 80% cotton, those are going to print beautifully. Once you get down to a 50-50, you can get an acceptable print, but it's not going to be a great print, and it's going to be a little dull, and it's not going to wash as well as the 100% cotton print. There are lots of folks out there who print on jeans or print on denim jackets. Denim is 100% cotton, so a great substrate to print on. Canvas bags. Screen printers hate to print on canvas bags, but beautifully printed with a direct-to-garment printer because the inkjet head doesn't touch the substrate or doesn't touch the bag. So every print is very crisp, so you can do photographic images. Golf towels. When I started and got involved with direct-to-garment printing, and Aaron, you and I were both standing there the same day watching that first machine print before anybody on the planet knew that such a technology existed. I remember saying, if I was still an active screen printer, I would have bought a direct-to-garment printer just to print golf towels, and I would have printed golf towels all day, every day, because Screen printers hate golf towels because of the texture, and every print gets muddier and muddier. But with a direct-to-garment printer, I could do a full color image on that towel. So a variety of things to print, but again, remember, 100% cotton is your best friend when it comes to direct-to-garment printing. Aaron, let's jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about what I cannot print. And of course, one of those things, and I always direct people back to my buddy Aaron here, because I am asked nearly every day, well, can I also print on phone cases? No, you cannot print on a phone case with a direct-to-garment printer. There are a variety of ways to decorate all kinds of different items. So make sure that you use the technology that best fits what you want to do. Performance wear, and Aaron, you had mentioned performance wear. You cannot do performance wear with a direct-to-garment printer. The reason being, not only is it 100% man-made fabric, which direct-to-garment ink is not made for, but performance wear generally cannot get up to 330 degrees the way you need to get a garment for direct-to-garment printing. You have to get that ink to 330 to cure it, but performance wear will melt at that temperature. So even though it's tremendously popular right now, not an item that you can print with direct-to-garment printing. And along those same lines, when someone comes to me and says, hey, I want one of these printers because I do all kinds of baseball uniforms or basketball uniforms or football uniforms, not going to work for you, because those uniforms 99% of the time are 100% polyester or some other man-made fabric. So not going to work with direct-to-garment printer. Aaron, let's jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about the advantage of direct-to-garment printing. One of them is instant gratification. And I'll give you an example. When I was at a trade show, when Kansas, here's my second reference to the Jayhawks, when Kansas won their 10th straight Big 12 basketball title, I got the news on the phone. Both my sons texted me. Within 10 minutes, my buddy Hawkeye, who was running the machine at the trade show, printed me a shirt with a Jayhawk on it that said 10 straight Big 12 championships. And no, it was not a copyrighted, or I did not have a license to do that shirt, but by gosh, it was pretty cool to have it at the trade show, and there was no transfer of cash. So the other advantage, of course, is that full color image that I'll give you an example. When the bread and butter for screen printing is 1 and 2 and 3 color work. It's Jim's Towing Service who comes in, and Jim wants it to say Jim's Towing Service on the front, and he wants the phone number on the back. Well, that's hard for me to compete with as a direct-to-garment printer, but I can say to Jim, hey, I can't help but notice you've got that wrapped tow truck that must have 78 shades of purple on it. I could put a picture of that on a shirt for you, and I can do just one. So the advantage there is the ability to do that single garment, or the family reunion that we all cringe for about when we're screen printers, because we say please have 150 members in your family, and no, I've got 17, and Grandma passed last year, so we want her picture on there, and my little Susie, she's a 2-4, and we all know my Uncle Bob, he's a 4X, and a screen printer just wants to pull his hair out because he can't charge enough to make money with that order. But a direct-to-garment printer says, hey, can you come back in an hour? I'll have the shirts ready for you. So that's the advantage of the direct-to-garment system. Aaron, if we could jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about disadvantages. It's the short run. If somebody comes in to me and says, hey, I'm looking for 500 shirts, I could job that to a guy with an automatic press, and he could have it printed in an hour. 500 shirts, I'm still going to be printing them a week from Tuesday. So, I'm not going to be able to do that big run. Well, can I do it? Yes. Should I? No, I'm not going to. You're limited on your substrates. 100% cotton, again, is the thing that I want to print on. Pre-treating, it's an extra step in the process. So every time I print with white ink, I am faced with spraying pre-treatment on the shirt first. And to be honest, that's the one thing that trips people up. People tend to use way too much pre-treatment on the shirts. So when they complain about direct-to-garment printing having a box around it, or it's stiff, or it's shiny, that's not because of the process. It's because that the operator has used way too much pre-treatment. So the shirt, you shouldn't see the pre-treat, you shouldn't feel it, but it's an extra step in the process that you have to get good at. Almost all the time when people tell me that they have a problem with a print, the print doesn't look good, it looks dull, or even the print washes off. It's not the ink, it's not anything but improper use of the pretreatment. So we'll count that as a disadvantage because it's an extra step you have to learn and learn to do it right, and of course a slight expense as well. It is slight though. It's about 20 cents per garment for pretreatment. Aaron, let's jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about what do I need. Things I'm going to need to buy, of course, is my printer, and those are going to range anywhere from, gosh, pre-treat or direct-to-garment printers. You know, you can buy a refurbished machine for $8,500, or you can go all the way up and spend $130,000 on a direct-to-garment printer. You're realistically going to be in that $15,000 to $25,000 range for that printer. You need a heat press, and we'll beat this dog one more time and say we need a good quality heat press. Do not skimp on a heat press. That heat press that you invested money in and spent $1,200, $1,500 on, 15 years from now you're going to be using that same heat press. So do not cut a corner there. And of course we need a method to pre-treat shirts, and that method's going to be, as I mentioned, anything from a handheld Wagner power sprayer all the way up to an automatic pre-treat machine. The automatic pre-treat machines, I'll be honest, have gotten to be very, very popular, and more people feel it's an integral part of their business package. Last thing that we want to talk about is what's it going to cost. You're looking at in the range of about $20,000 to get started in the direct-to-garment business. Can I do it for less? I can probably cut some corners and do it for in that $10,000 range. But on average, most of the people you see who get into this business will be spending about $20,000. So that's kind of an overview, a quick overview of the direct-to-garment marketplace. And Aaron, we're back to you.
All right. God, I'm doing it again.
Well, I have to start again. Every time you go backwards, I have to start again.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Well, so this last kind of main section here is heat transfer, and it's a little more of a catch-all. So we're going to cover some more general topics, but basically, I want to give you a quick overview of what heat transfer is, and again, it all centers around a heat press, and now this will be the third time that we've beat this dead horse, so to speak, as you mentioned, Terry. Is you get what you pay for here. So again, most of the decorating methods center around a heat press. Outside of our good friends that are screen printers and embroiderers, but pretty much everybody else that decorates is using a heat press of some sort. And obviously a lot of these things all tie together nicely, so buy a good heat press. You've got CAD cut vinyls, which basically are just rolls of different colors of vinyl that you would then put onto a cutter and cut out the pieces and lay those pieces on the garment, and you can even layer those things. You've got standard inkjet type transfers, which we briefly mentioned in the sublimation section earlier. You can use an off-the-shelf inkjet and inkjet ink and get a pretty good transfer. It's not like you'd think of, going down to Walmart and getting that pack of T-shirt transfer stuff. That's just generic, really made to be thrown on a shirt that's going to be worn a couple times. The commercial stuff that's out there and available is actually pretty high quality and much softer hand, and allows for fairly good washability. It's not going to wash like a direct-to-garment or a screen print or any of that kind of stuff, but at least will get you through and makes a good business for you. And you can print and cut those, so you can put opaque paper onto a dark garment. The next area here is going to be your solvent print and cut transfers, and that's going to be very similar to what we talked about just a second ago with the inkjet transfers, but this is going to be using a special eco-solvent type printer that then gives those transfers more washability, and you're printing directly onto a vinyl. So now we've got washability that rivals a screen print or a direct-to-garment print. You can kind of does have a little bit more of a hand and all that kind of fun stuff. So those do range into special larger size where you can also print banners and signs and other things like that. But there's also some smaller format units out on the marketplace too that are really good for the garment decorating and whatnot. And then laser transfer is another variety of heat transfer out there, and there are some great laser transfers out there, and especially if you are over in Europe, a majority of people in the heat transfer business are doing laser transfers, and they're starting to become more and more popular here in the United States. You've got now also laser printers that have been out for about 3 or 4 years now that have white toner available, so that is an excellent opportunity to get onto a dark garment and get onto those dark cotton pieces and whatnot. So kind of an entry level, maybe step before getting into direct to garment, even something along those lines. And then other thing that you would use to heat transfer is doing rhinestones, and you can either buy pre-done patterns, or you can make your own rhinestone patterns, and there are even rhinestone machines out there that will set rhinestone patterns for you, and got all those things available to you. And then another thing that you're finding people starting to use quite a bit are the foils, and those are not only used with screen printing, but you can use the foils onto laser transfers. You can use the foils. There is a product out there that you can actually cut with your vinyl cutter and put it onto the garment, and then foil over the top of that. So another great decorating method. So that's your basic overview of the process. So what can I print? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. One other thing I was thinking about with rhinestones, and we hadn't talked about this before, but you can also heat press those sequence transfers. Have you seen those? Yep. So that's kind of along the lines of rhinestones. They're a little bit different, but it gives you the same effect. So yeah, those are another way to embellish.
Excellent. We'll add this to the slide here, and you'll have to bring that up when we are doing this live in front of real live human beings. So
Not all right, pajamas?
Cool. No pajamas. Yeah. And Terry's gonna have to wear pants. So. All right, good stuff. All right, so let's talk about what we can print. Basically, almost any fabric you can think of. Some of those different processes do have different limitations to them, but if you've got some combination of those things, from the solvent to the different transfers or the vinyls and whatnot, the CAD cut vinyls, you can get onto just about anything. So good stuff. It does allow for special effects, different layers, different textures, and things like that, and also works really well in conjunction with the embroidery stuff. So great special effects that you can do there and get some awesome looking items. It allows for depth of image, as I mentioned, where you can have some metallic, you can have some depth, some layered vinyls, some flock material that might give you some different hand and feel and different depths. So that's always a good advantage to that. Kind of quickly what we cannot print. Basically, the biggest drawback, obviously, to quote-unquote heat transfer is the fact that something that is not able to take the heat. Most of those processes that we went through there are going to need somewhere in the 300-plus range of heat. So items that cannot take that kind of heat probably are not going to be able to be decorated. I have seen some of those methods take a home iron and apply some things, but you're not going to really have any washability when you're using a home iron. So, items that will not take heat. The advantages of this type of a process is you do have fast turnaround times. There's not a lot of setup in a lot of these things. There are certain parts of this process that can be a little tedious. Biggest one being the weeding in the vinyl, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. There is very small setup that is required, so you don't have to have really long runs. It definitely is very advantageous to the short run. I need a couple. We have several customers that are very big time screen printers, and they just got tired of turning away that short run work, so they've gone to a laser or an inkjet transfer to provide those kind of items to their customers. So good advantage there. Disadvantages of it, which we've basically multiple steps. When you've got multiple pieces that you've got to lay together, it can be a bit of a challenge to get everything lined up correctly, and you've got to maybe like on a laser transfer, you've got to marry two sheets together to knock out backgrounds. So a lot of these processes do have multiple steps where there's a printing, there's a cutting, there's a layering, there's a different things that go along with this that can sometimes make this a bit of a disadvantage. As I mentioned before, the weeding. Again, what weeding is that once you've cut that vinyl out, you do have to get rid of all the excess vinyl off of the liner that you don't want to transfer, and typically that process is a very, especially if you have small, intricate, detailed designs, you're basically taking a pick or a knife or some sort of a sharp object and digging those pieces out, and if you don't have patience for it, it can be a very disastrous process. So what do we need to buy to make this happen? Again, back to the heat press. Expect to spend $1,000 to $2,000 to get a heat press that's worthwhile, that's going to last a long time. Typically the heat presses that are $1,000 or more will have a lifetime warranty on the heating platen, and and the reason for that is that they're built well, and they mean that. As Terry mentioned, I've seen people that have had the same heat press in their shop for 15 years and it's still running just as it did the day they got it. So worthwhile investment there. You're going to need a vinyl cutter, and those can range in price from your more hobby style like Cameo or Cricut or Silhouette type cutters out there that are in the $250 to $270 range is really kind of the low end there. On up into a 24-inch cutter that will allow you to do other things like signs and things like that, and those typically run in that $1,800 range, maybe on up to $2,000 range, depending on getting a stand and certain things like that. So there's one piece. If you are going to get into the solvent printing market, you are looking at spending about $7,000 on up to a very wide format style solvent printer will run you even potentially $30,000. If you are going to go the inkjet printer route, you can get an off-the-shelf, pick it up from a Office Max type scenario for $100. I don't even know if Office Max is still open, but Office Depot or Staples or whatever, on up to about $600 for a little more high-end professional grade inkjet printer. And or if you're going to go the laser printer route, these are those laser printers I was mentioning that have the white toner in them, range anywhere from about $4,000 on up to about $7,500 for that setup. Rhinestone software would be another potential item that you would need to buy, and that can range in the $100 range for like an add-on to one of those smaller hobby cutters, on up to about $700 to $1,000 for just a standalone type of rhinestone software that might work in Corel or something like that. So basically you need to determine what your market needs are and pick and choose from that list above what items you need to solve their issues. And so your minimum is probably going to be just over $1,000 in cost to start a business if you're just starting out, to maximum about $42,000 to get all of it basically. Your typical heat transfer setup is going to be about $11,000, and that's going to include a heat press, a cutter, a laser printer, and rhinestone software, which will get you covered on a majority of the items that you'd want to be doing. So that is our overview of heat transfer. So to kind of start wrapping this up here, I want to kind of get us all together and start talking about maybe how these decoration methods work together. We've got some mixed media things here. So Andrea, since you've been patiently listening to Terry and I go on here, why don't you kind of give us a little bit more information about this, because I know you're really good at this stuff, and the embroidery lends itself really well to the mixed media. So start us off and we'll go.
Well, thanks, Terry. Or thanks, Terry. I'm getting tired.
Yeah,
Thanks, thanks, Aaron, and Terry. One, for having me on, but two, for being so kind. Mixed media, we're seeing this a lot, or all over the place. I just went shopping this weekend for my son. He's getting bigger. It's coming time for winter, and I am I'm looking at everything, and everything is combining stuff. I mean, and of course, the nerd that I am, and the interest I have in this industry, I look at it and say, okay, well, that's screen printed, and there's embroidery there, and it's added, bling to it. Even seeing in my little girl stuff, everything is being mixed, and utilizing these different medias to embellish is quite amazing. And it's just a little amount from each part of the industry sometimes that can really set you apart from any other garment decorator. Here, I see that you've got the rhinestone and printable vinyl on a shoe. That's two different types of decoration, but with the same kind of equipment. Adding some of the small equipment, you could do things like, I've got the two samples on the bottom with applique, embroidery, rhinestones, and a printed heat transfer. It's just so neat to kind of explore that, and just open your eyes to all the different things that can be brought together. It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good thing if you expand yourself in such ways of mixed media, when you have the ability to encompass the different types of market. Like if you do screen printing and you've added embroidery, see how you can mix it. I have a design that we usually show in our booth, and it's just an athletic shirt. The top of the shirt has the name, which is done in vinyl, and the number is done in applique, which you have to use a fabric plus embroidery to attach it, and that's a type of mixed media. So even the traditional type of markets, like the athletic market, you do have to use mixed media in that. So think about that too when you're exploring the different ways to embellish or decorate garments.
Andrea, it's interesting when you're talking about this and seeing all that out there. We've had the conversation here on the show before, but years ago, you were a screen printer, or you were an embroiderer, or you were a sublimation person, or you were this, or you were that. But today, I think that's out the window. I think that everybody is doing at least a couple of things, and I'll give you a mixed media example that I saw once, that it was so simple but so clever. Somebody was using a direct-to-garment printer, and direct-to-garment printers, print water-based ink, which means that any of these other application methods will adhere to it, because the dye goes down into the fabric. Where screen printing, it's harder to adhere something else to a plastisol print, but they had just they did an ice cream cone, and they took about 15 rhinestones in different colors and just kind of randomly scattered them on the ice cream like sprinkles, and they took that garment from being a $10 garment to suddenly it was a $20 garment by randomly placing 15 rhinestones that cost what, 20 cents?
Yeah, at most.
Right.
10 cents? I don't know. But I think there's so much potential out there for people to kind of open their eyes and broaden their perspective on the potential of mixed media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, just shopping for my son, and I mean, these are, of course, like Gap and Old Navy and things like that. So they're mass producing this stuff, but you go to you see something that's multimedia and it's more expensive because of the uniqueness of the garment. Like you said with that ice cream cone thing, I went to when our beloved city of Nashville that we always love going to for the shows.
Exactly.
Um, the I walked into a shop there, and it had an embroidery with rhinestones on it. And the embroidery was very simple. The rhinestones were very simple. I looked at the price tag. I nearly jumped out of my shoes. I mean, it was like a $90 shirt. Granted, you're in a touristy area, yeah, but looking at that, I was like, holy moly! Like, but at the same time, you're like, that's great. That's great that they can charge this because it's very unique.
Yep.
Exactly right. For a small amount of additional money, the value added is tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey Terry, one other thing I was thinking that maybe people could do with a couple of the methods that you talked about was, I don't know if you've ever seen this, so, like, would you have a screen printer that would, screen print something that, maybe goes on 300 different shirts, and then, but those 300 shirts each need to be personalized, and so they'd screen print a portion of it and then direct to garment the other portion of it?
It's certainly so, and also to a different extent. One time I was doing a golf tournament, and it was a simple left chest print, a one color, and it was like 80 garments, but it had all the sponsors on the back, and it would have been a 20 color print for a screen print because all these different corporate logos were all over the back. And so I screen printed the left chest print, and then I sublimated, or not sublimated, I'm sorry, I direct garment printed the back. So I guess along those same lines, I wasn't personalizing them, but those two different methods met my needs better than trying to do one or the other.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then one of my favorite kind of mixed media application, and I know it's probably old hat to Andrea because she's around embroidery all the time, but because I'm not, I just think the look is super cool. Is that picture up in the top left there where taking some glitter vinyl and basically used it as an applique. I'm assuming that's the correct terminology, Andrea, but right through it and ripped away the excess, and then heat pressed down the vinyl, and you've got this awesome look that's outlined with embroidery. So that's really cool as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and actually you bring your cost down too because you're not doing as many stitches. When you're doing something like applique where you're laying down other material and the stitching adheres it, you cut down a lot. And also with that special type of material, you don't have to pre-cut it like you would with traditional applique. You can just rip it away and heat press it. So, one thing that I was just thinking of is with these multimedia applications, you can do multimedia, but then you can also service the industry that you were talking about, or not the industry, I'm sorry, the market that you were talking about with vinyl and rhinestones and things like that. So, not only are you doing the multimedia, but you can now market to way more people And if that person who's doing vinyl needs embroidery, or that person who's doing vinyl and needs screen printing done, they're going to come back to you.
Yeah.
So we see a lot, and I think you guys can agree with this, but you see a lot of people who said, I want to expand my business. Well, what do you do now? And it's something outside of the industry or the market that you're talking about. I get a lot of screen printers coming to us saying, I'm subbing out all my embroidery and I want to bring it in-house. Well, not only could they bring it in-house and do the embroidery work, but they could also mix the two together. So, and obviously this is what we're presenting, but I think that's just so cool that you can control all that.
Absolutely, and I think to kind of wrap this up, because we're running out of time here, but to wrap this up here, I think that you guys are hitting it right on the head. That like Terry said, it used to be you were one thing or the other, but in today's marketplace, you just can't afford to do that anymore. You have to kind of have multiple tools in your tool belt, so to speak, and that's how we get an embroidery nerd and a sublimation nerd and a screen print and direct to garment veteran, we'll say, Terry, and you get us all together in the same room, and we can all be friends and and head towards the same common goal that is decorating. So
Exactly right.
great stuff, guys, and thank you both very much for staying up late with us tonight, and we will look to refine and have a great time in Long Beach when we do this January 2015.
Sounds great. We'll see you guys. Well, hopefully before then, but but definitely there.
All right, everybody, have a great one and get some sleep there, Andrea. Bye bye.
Hey, we'll see ya.